Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here today. I'm Judy the YouTube Lawyer. In today's live stream, I'm going to be reading the deposition of a doctor who was designated to be an expert witness for Dr. Charlie Adelson in his federal lawsuit against Berkshire Life Insurance Company. So in that case, he is suing, trying to get disability insurance benefits. And as many of you guys know already, Charlie Adelson was arrested on April 21st, 2022, and he is alleged to be the mastermind behind the murder of FSU law professor Dan Markel. So thank you all for being here, and I think I'll go ahead and dive right in and try to read maybe about 50 pages or so, depends on how long it takes, and then hopefully we'll be able to open this up to another open live stream discussion for those who have really been following the Dan Markel case. So I see you guys out in the chat box. Thank you so much for being here. So let's just go ahead and get started. This deposition was taken of Dr. Richard N. Kishner, MD, on Monday, December 13th, 2021. In the morning, it lasted for a little over 2 hours, and this was done remotely by Zoom. The attorney for Charlie Adelson was Benjamin Hasselbrock. The attorney for the Berkshire Life Insurance Company was Wendy Furman. So both of them are attorneys in the Miami area. So let's get started here. I'll just skip over all this preliminary stuff. Okay, so they swear in the witness, and it says, Richard N. Kishner, MD, having been produced and first duly sworn as a witness, testified as follows. Direct examination by Ms. Furman. Question, Dr. Kishner, please state your full name. Richard Kishner. What is your business address? It's 4725 North Federal Highway, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Where are you currently employed? Holy Cross Hospital, Phil Smith Neuroscience Institute. You obtained your education in South Africa. Is that correct? Yes. And after you graduated medical school, did you do a residency? You did a residency? Yes. Your residency was at Johannesburg General Hospital in South Africa? No. Where was your residency? NYU, New York University. Did you do post-medical school educational residency in the South African Hospital Department of Psychiatry? Answer, I did my internship in Johannesburg, and I did 6 months of psychiatry at a general hospital in Johannesburg. Yes. On your resume, it reflects that information under the internship category, correct? Yes. You also completed a residency at Bellevue Hospital in New York. Is that correct? Bellevue and University Hospital at NYU. Are you board certified? Yes. When did you sit for that exam? In 1983. Your board certification is from the American Board of Psychiatry and Neurology, correct? Yes. Where do you currently practice? In Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And the name of the entity for which you perform work is what? That's the Phil Smith Neuroscience Institute at Holy Cross Hospital. When did you join the Phil Smith Neuroscience Institute at Holy Cross Hospital? In 2018. Prior to that, did you work in your own practice, Kishner and Calise, MDPA, since 2009? Yes. And what was the nature of that practice? That was a neurology practice, private practice. And what happened to that practice when you joined Phil Smith Neuroscience Institute? Dr. Calise retired, and I joined the Neuroscience Institute in Holy Cross Hospital. You've also done medical research, correct? Yes. Your research has primarily been on neurological disorders such as Parkinson's, Alzheimer's disease, and multiple sclerosis, correct? Yes. You also performed expert witness work. Is that correct? Yes. How are you compensated for your expert witness work? How do you mean, how am I compensated? Are you paid on a per case basis, or are you paid by the hour? Oh, or are you Or are you retained by any entities to act as an expert witness on a consistent basis? Not on a consistent basis. It's really case by case. Is all of your work then performed on the hourly basis? Yes. And if you review a patient's record, for example, to provide an opinion about an MRI, what rate do you charge a patient for that work? Answer, for the review of records, it's $450 an hour. For review of imaging studies, I think it's $350 per study. If you're retained by an attorney to review records, what hourly rate do you charge? The same. The $450 an hour? Yes. And how long have you been charging $450 an hour for record review? I guess 2 years. Before that, it was $400. Do you charge a different rate for deposition testimony? Yes. Expert witness work? Yes. And what rate do you charge for deposition testimony? $750 per hour. And the 2 hours, do you have a minimum? Yes. You have a 2-hour minimum? 2-hour minimum could go to 3. Approximately how many times have you testified as an expert witness at depositions? I don't recall. According to your CV that you have provided in this case, it's been at least 20 times. Is that correct? Probably. When you perform, do you provide deposition? In addition to deposition testimony, do you provide testimony at trials or hearings? Yes, if required. What rates do you charge for trial or hearing testimony? $850 per hour. And is there a minimum charge for that testimony? Usually it's 4 hours. Do you recall how many times you have testified at a trial or hearing in the last 4 years? No. According to the material I was provided as part of your disclosures in this case, is it correct to say that you have testified at least 10 times in the past 4 years at trial? I don't know. If that's what it says, I don't have it in front of me. What percentage of your income would you estimate is generated by your expert witness work? About 3%. Is that on a consistent year-over-year basis? No, it varies. Some years it's not much. Some years it's a bit more. It just depends. So for the past 2 years, what is your percentage of income generated by expert witness work then? I would say about 3%. About how much time do you spend performing expert witness work? I don't know exactly. How do you get referrals for expert witness work? People call me. Is it attorneys that call you? Other doctors? What is the nature of your contact? It can vary a lot. Basically, a lot of what becomes expert doesn't start out as expert. So trauma, obviously, is a major inaudible neurologic disease. I'm a neurologist, so I see people who have been involved in trauma. Ultimately, they may lead to litigation, at which point then, sometimes you go from a treating doctor to an expert, depending on the circumstance. But I don't advertise it at all. I have been in the community for, almost 40 years. So people call. Okay, let me get some water. Sorry. Are you affiliated with any expert witness networks or companies that help people locate expert witnesses? No. Have you previously worked with Dr. Adelson's attorney, Mr. Benjamin Hasselbrock? I don't believe so. Do you know if you've worked with any other attorneys at his law firm, Verb, Ploeg, and Marino, or as it was previously known, Verb, Ploeg, and Lumpkin? I don't believe so. Possibly one case. I don't know. Do you have a recollection of any other attorneys at that firm that you've worked with? No. Did Mr. Hasselbrock refer Dr. Charlie Adelson to you? I believe so, yes. When did that occur? I first saw him in January of 2018. What was your first contact of any type with Dr. Adelson? My first contact with seeing him on the 15th of January 2018 as a patient. Had you previously spoken with his attorney, Mr. Hasselbrock, regarding Dr. Adelson? I don't believe so. And what was the purpose of the January 15th, 2018 visit that you had with Dr. Adelson? To make an evaluation of his medical status. I'm a neurologist. He complained of lower back pain, so I evaluated him for such. Were you asked to be an expert witness for Dr. Adelson in a case involving Standard Insurance Company at that time? In 2018? I don't believe so. Do you have any recollection of discussing with either Dr. Adelson or any of his attorneys whether you would be willing to provide expert testimony on behalf of Dr. Adelson in a case that he had brought against Standard Insurance Company? At that time? Yes. I don't know. I don't think so. At any point in time, do you recall any discussions with Dr. Adelson or his attorneys or anyone regarding possibly providing testimony in a case involving Standard Insurance Company? I believe so at some later stage. Can you describe what that discussion was? Just, what his physical status was, what the mechanism of pain was, and what his limitations were. Was that discussion with Dr. Adelson himself? Yes, certainly. Did you discuss your possible testimony with Dr. Adelson's counsel at any point? I don't know if it was testimony. I discussed my medical findings and what I believed were his limitations. And this is in connection with possibly acting as an expert witness in a different lawsuit with Standard Insurance Company. Is that correct? I don't know if it was in regards to testimony. It was in regards to my findings of Mr. Adelson or Dr. Adelson. Were you asked if you would be willing to testify as an expert on his behalf regarding a claim he was pursuing against Standard Insurance Company? I don't recall specifically, but I would have if I was asked to. January 15th, 2018. At that point in time, did you see Dr. Adelson as a patient? Yes. And how many times total have you seen Dr. Adelson as a patient? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 times. Did you receive a letter and authorization for release of Dr. Adelson's records from my law firm, McDowell Hetherington? I don't recall. Doctor, I'm going to share my screen and show you a document and ask you if you recognize this medical records transmittal. The first page, this is a 13-page document, I believe. And so I will just go down here to the letter. This letter is from my law firm, McDowell Hetherington, addressed to you, which is Kishner, dated July 27th, 2021, requesting the medical records from Dr. Charlie Adelson. Do you recall receiving this letter? No. What is the normal procedure at your office for a records request? Well, it goes through it's a large hospital, so it would go through whatever administrative people we have, and then they would respond, but typically I wouldn't get this letter. This address, 4725 North Federal Highway, is that your practice address? Is that where you practice medicine at Holy Cross? Well, that is where I physically practice medicine, but as we're doing now, Zoom conferences or now telemedicine is more frequently done. So during 2020, I was rarely at the hospital. In 2021, I've been at the hospital probably 2-3 days a month. The rest I do telemedicine. Okay, so during the pandemic, your practice has included remote work for Holy Cross Hospital? Correct. And attached to this letter is the authorization from Dr. Adelson here on the 3rd page of this document, authorization to obtain medical information. And there's a date of June 11th, 2021, correct? That's what it says, yes. Following this it says a patient chart copy for Charlie Adelson from Holy Cross Medical Group. Do you recognize this legend at the top of page 4 of your practice's electronically generated medical record? Yeah. And this indicates the data was accurate as of October 7th, 2021, correct? That's what it says. And going back just to the first page, this medical records transmittal for Charlie Adelson from Holy Cross Hospital reflects that it was sent on October 11th, 2021, correct? Sure. And then the actual record, that first page is just a title, patient chart, and there's medical records for Dr. Adelson. Is this where they start in this document on this? This is the 5th page of this document. Do you recognize these records here for Holy Cross Hospital? No. This clinical summary, you don't recognize these records for? I wouldn't see it in this format, no. Okay, so just to start here, the clinical summary, patient's details reflect Dr. Adelson, his address. This reflects the date of the appointment and reflects that you are the provider, correct? Yes. Okay, so this is a January 9th, 2019 appointment on page 5. That's what it says, yes. And then the chief complaint where it says back pain, would these have been on entries that would be entered in the medical records for Dr. Adelson at his office visit with you? Yes. And then his vitals are recorded there at the bottom of the first page for that office visit, correct? Yes. The second page of this record continues with some vitals and just where the appointment was, correct? Sure. And I'm turning to, this is number, it says page 3 at the bottom. This would be the actual office visit note here on this page for Dr. Adelson at this visit. Is that correct? Yes. Does the text here look familiar to you? Yes. Okay, so this is your office visit note. It's just that you're not familiar with the format in which this has been generated in these records. Is that correct? No. Okay, what is this note then? This is a note I'm familiar with. The other stuff was what I was not familiar with. Okay, so this is the format you're familiar with? Yes. Okay, all right. And then this starts out with the history of present illness, past medical history, surgical history, family history, social history, allergies, and review of systems on that page, correct? That's what it says, yes. Review of systems on the, continuing to the next page, this is where you indicated the results of your evaluation of him, including the vital signs and the physical exam, correct? No, that's not my evaluation. That would be done by my medical assistant. Okay, so which part here was done by the medical assistant? All of the stuff that you did just prior to this, other than my history of visit, my history. Okay, so review of systems, vitals, and the physical exam would all have been performed by your assistant. Is that correct? No. Okay, explain to me what your assistant's part would be in these records. She would have done the vital signs, the review of past medical history, the review of the systems. I would have done the history and then the physical examination. Okay, and on the final page of this January 9th, 2019 visit, the assessment, is that something that you would prepare? Yes. Just to orient us, the next record here is the patient information record for Dr. Adelson. This is the intake document, essentially. Yes. And there's authorizations for payment and notice of privacy practices and patient's photograph consent. Is that correct? I guess so, yes. That's what it says. Now, do these records contain all of the office visit notes from your visits with Dr. Adelson? No. Are there additional office visit notes that you have that are not contained in these records? Yes. And what would those be? Those would be the ones I was referring to with the original evaluation in 2018. And the dates of those visits are what? You got my screen, so let's see. So the dates of those visits are January 15, 2018, June 20th, 2018, and then after that, you have the Holy Cross records, which will be there. And then there's an MRI of, there's an MRI of February 2018 as well. So the visits from 2018, would they have been at your own private practice? Is that correct? That is. Okay, and so the private practice records, what happened to those records when you joined the Phil Smith Neuroscience Institute? Well, they have an Allscripts program that doesn't accept other electronic medical records. So it's a separate computer and workspace there. So they don't always have access to that because it's not part of their electronic medical record system. So in your practice at Phil Smith, you have access to Dr. Adelson's prior records. That's up in the air right now. So they are transferring the computer that we had to theirs. And so it's not easy to access typically. No. Okay. And you've also seen Dr. Adelson in a telehealth visit in 2021, correct? Yes. Okay. And the date of that visit was what? It's February 9th, 2021. And that telehealth visit record was not included in the materials that we just reviewed from Holy Cross. Is that correct? I don't know. Do you know where the telehealth visits are maintained for Holy Cross Hospital in? It should be in their computer system. But again, that is a different file than the other one. So did you or your office at some point provide a copy of that 2021 telehealth visit to Dr. Adelson's counsel? I believe so, yes. And I'm going to mark the first document of 13 pages of Holy Cross records as Defendant's Exhibit 1. by Ms. Furman. Can you see this document, Dr. Kishner, from Neuroscience Institute, 4725 North Federal Highway? Which one? It's pretty small. I can't really read it. Let me see if I can. There you go. Does that help to blow it up a little bit? Sure. Okay, what was the question? Is this your practice's Neuroscience Institute? This is their record? I assume so, yes. Okay, and this reflects the fax that was sent to you from Ben Hasselbrock, correct? Yes. And this was sent on December 6th of 2021, correct? Yes. There's a total of 3 pages here. Okay. And if we turn to the second page of this document, I've got a Holy Cross Medical Group and your name at the top, correct? Yes. And does this pertain to your visit with Dr. Adelson from February 9th of 2021? It seems so, yes. It has that date as the visit date, correct? Yes. And does this reflect at the top of this document that this was a telehealth service? Yes, that's what it says. And then this document continues for that full page. There's a little bit inaudible. The second page and then continues with a physical exam on the third page of the visit note. And with this note here reflecting that it was electronically signed on October 12th of 2021. Is that correct? Yes. Do you have an understanding of why this visit would bear an electronic signature date of October 12th, 2021 if the visit occurred on February 9th of 2021? I don't. I could speculate, but I don't know for sure. Excuse me. And you agreed this was faxed from your office to Mr. Hasselbrock's in December of 2021, correct? Yes. Do you have a recollection of how that came about that you were faxing this one document to Mr. Hasselbrock? Yes. Please explain that for us. Basically, it's a controlled system, the Allscripts, so you can't print anything out, basically. So I have to remotely access the information from Allscripts from my computer at home. So I can't actually print it out, or I can't even pull it down to my file in itself. So the only way I can export that information from the Allscripts system that I access remotely is to fax it somewhere. You can't even email it, government regulations. And so the only way I could get it is to fax it to Mr. Hasselbrock, and then he could send it to me, and then he could access it as well. Otherwise, it's a secure closed system. Did somebody from Mr. Hasselbrock's or did Mr. Hasselbrock request this record from you in December of 2021? Well, actually, I wanted it because I needed it for my file for this deposition. So like I said, the only way I could do it, and if I try to do it now, I would have to open another computer file, remotely access Allscripts there at Holy Cross, and it literally becomes an electronic mess. So it's much better for me to have a physical record, and I would assume he would want it and you would want it as well. So what caused you to request or need this record in December of 2021? Well, we had a deposition planned, So it was in preparation for this deposition that we noticed that you determined you needed to have a copy of your medical records for a telehealth visit that occurred in February of 2021. Is that correct? I don't know if I would have worded it that way, but basically I wanted the medical records so that we could actually discuss the case, which I'm sure we will do at some point. But basically, that's why I wanted that record rather than trying to do a Zoom and at the same time access the Holy Cross records, which becomes quite cumbersome because it times out if we don't get into that document when I open it up. Logging into that is extremely complex and very secure, which will take a considerable amount of time. Not that that seemed to matter, but it would have taken another 15 minutes. So I thought that for efficiency, this would have been a good idea. Were you asked to review any records in connection with this deposition? Not in connection with this deposition specifically, but I was asked to review the report of Dr. Bomar, and I made a comment on that. And I also looked at past medical records, which I had done previously. When were you first asked to review medical records for Dr. Adelson? Oh, I got the old records. I would assume that was 2018. I got old records from that, and that was after my initial evaluation. That was February 2018 I got records. In February of 2018, did you have discussions with Dr. Adelson about reviewing medical records for him? Well, it would be our standard practice if I see a person, which I saw him on 15th of January 2018. One of the first questions I ask is if they have a past medical history related to what we're evaluating for, if he has past medical records. So we obtained those. That would be standard medical care. Okay, what medical records did you obtain for Dr. Adelson? Well, in 2018, those were from Dr. Gottlieb. We got the Jonathan Gottlieb. We got the South Florida imaging MRI scan of lumbar spine that was done in September of 2016. I had records from Dr. Fadarani. Do you know the dates of the records that you had from Dr. Fadarani? Yeah, Fadarani, I have September 29th, 2016. I also have October 31st, 2016. I was also given an insurance report from 2017, work restrictions from 2017. And what insurance report are you referring to? Guardian. And do you know is that a doctor who prepared that report? There is, yeah, there is a Dr. Boudin, Dr. Natalie Boudin, Boodin. That's, yeah, I got her. And then there's another one from, I don't know who he is, Thomas Hensel, phonetic. These are documents pertaining to the standard matter that you were consulted with. Is that correct? I don't know. It says Guardian. I don't know if it's standard. Okay, and where does it say Guardian on that document? On the top of the letterhead. In the Natalie Boudin document, that's from the Hensel. From Boudin, it just says Physician Consult Memo, Nurse Hawkins, Analyst Hugh, Physician Boudin. It doesn't say anything about standard. And then I got another one from Fadarani from March 7th, 2017. I think we did the October 31st, 2017 one already. Yeah. So the most recent Dr. Fadarani record you had was October 31st, 2017? I believe so, yes. And is it correct that you reviewed those materials in connection with potentially providing opinions regarding Dr. Adelson back in 2018 when he was involved in litigation with Standard Insurance Company? Hasselbrock, object to the form. You can answer. Witness, yeah, can you restate that question? By Ms. Furman. You answer. For the inaudible. It is part of my medical record so I can review what was going on. These are the records I obtained, so I don't know if it was in connection with any other litigation issues. It was just my request for information. So the information that was provided, all this information, including Dr. Boudin's report, you believe was provided in connection with you rendering medical care to Dr. Adelson. Is that correct? Yes. And that was in the 2018 time period? Yes. And do your records reflect when those materials were received? Yes. They were in February of 2018. I can't tell you the exact date. Well, I can actually tell you the exact date, February 28th, 2018. And who provided those materials to you? I don't know. It came as a fax. Do you have the fax record there to reflect who sent those to you? No. Basically, it just tells me the date, the time, but I don't have the phone number or the source. So you have all of these records from Dr. Gottlieb, South Florida Imaging, Dr. Fadarani, and these other materials from Tom Hensel and Dr. Boudin, all in one fax on February 28th, 2018. Oh, all in one fax? Yeah, it looks like it's all in one fax. To your recollection, is that when you're consulting with Mr. Hasselbrock about potentially providing testimony in support of Dr. Adelson for the standard matter? I have no idea. Okay, your specialty is in neurology, correct? Yes. And you're a board-certified neurologist? Yes. What neurological condition are you treating Dr. Adelson for? Lower back pain. And what treatment have you provided for that condition? I had given him some tizanidine, which is a muscle relaxant, and recommended the anti-inflammatories on a PRN basis. In terms of an anti-inflammatories, were there any prescribed anti-inflammatories? No, naproxen usually is fine. So it's just over-the-counter anti-inflammatories? Yeah, naproxen and tizanidine. Ibuprofen? No, I'm not an ibuprofen fan as much as I am naproxen fan, but that's just me. And is that the extent of the treatment you have provided to Dr. Adelson regarding his low back pain? Answer. The tizanidine and the nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory. I also got an MRI scan of his lumbar spine, but that was what we did in terms of treatment. Yes. Are you a spine surgeon? No. Do you refer patients to spine surgeons for conditions that may require surgery to the spine? Sure. Would you defer to a spine surgeon as to surgical recommendations for spinal conditions? No. Do you make surgical recommendations for your, yes, patients? Yes, I do. Have you made any surgical recommendations for Dr. Adelson? He doesn't have a surgical problem. So your recommendation is that he does not need surgery at this time. That is correct. And that's been your consistent opinion over the course of the time that you've treated Dr. Adelson? That is correct. And what is the basis for that determination? He doesn't have progressive neurological dysfunction. Have you referred Dr. Adelson to a spine surgeon at any time? No. Have you suggested that he consult with a spine surgeon to evaluate his options for his spine condition? No. Are you a board-certified orthopedic doctor? No. An orthopedic doctor is one who specializes in diagnosis and treatment of diseases or injuries of the musculoskeletal system, correct? Skeletal system. The muscular part goes between neurology and orthopedics. And when you say the skeletal system, you're referring to that as the spine specifically as a, no, part of the skeleton? That is a part of the skeleton, but you were talking about orthopedic surgeons in general. So in general, they deal with bones. I deal with nerves and muscles. And the reality is we work together generally very frequently. So the back, where you're treating Dr. Adelson, is part of the musculoskeletal system that falls under orthopedic, correct? No. Mr. Hasselbrock, objective form. Witness. Also, I'm sorry. Hasselbrock, go ahead. The witness. There's also pain that inaudible to the nervous system. So you can't separate the nervous system from the spine, since the spine's total job is to support, well, major job is to support the nervous system. So they work in conjuncture with each other, and one is not separate from the other. Ms. Furman. Are orthopedic physicians able to treat patients such as Dr. Adelson who have comparable back condition? Sure. Have you ever recommended that Dr. Adelson consult with an orthopedic doctor? I think we asked that one, and I answered and said no. I'm sorry. What was your... You asked me that previously. I said no, and I'm still saying no. Okay. Have you recommended that Dr. Adelson consult with an orthopedic surgeon regarding his back condition? No. You are not a board-certified neurologic surgeon, correct? Correct. That would be a certification from the American Board of Neurological Surgery, correct? Yes. And that would be one of the types of doctors who would perform back surgery for nerve-related conditions, correct? Yes. Have you recommended that Dr. Adelson consult with an orthopedic surgeon regarding his back condition? You've asked me that 3 times. Hasselbrock, objective form. The witness, and the answer by Ms. Furman. I'm sorry, you're right. Answer is still no. Question. Right. Have you recommended that he consult with a neurologic surgeon regarding his back condition? Answer. The spine neurosurgeon, Hasselbrock, object to the form. Witness. No. By Ms. Furman. Why haven't you recommended that Dr. Adelson consult with any other types of doctors to evaluate the other options to treat his back pain? Because it's not a Hasselbrock, objective form. The witness. Surgical problem. So he does not have a progressive neurological impairment. He doesn't have an instability of his spine. So those would be the 2 reasons for recommending surgery. Since he does not have either of those situations, it's not a surgical problem. By Ms. Furman. Are you confident that Dr. Adelson has exhausted all available treatment options for his back pain? Hasselbrock, objective form. Go ahead. The witness. That's a complex question. So if the question is, can he be out of back pain by doing something? The answer is no. Nobody is going to promise that. So could you temporize the pain for a period of time? Sure, but it wouldn't result in a different outcome over time. So if you gave him some shots in his back, would he feel better for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month? Maybe. But the problem is that the underlying structural abnormality and the things that exacerbate it persist. So there's not a surgical solution to this, and no surgeon would promise a positive outcome in this context. He does not have a progressive neurological impairment associated with his spinal condition, so that would be an absolute indication for surgery. He doesn't have one, so what you have is a relative issue of pain, and surgical outcomes based purely on pain are poor at best. By Ms. Furman. Are there additional treatment options that may be available to Dr. Adelson besides surgery? Sure, staying within his physical limits to minimize the pain. So in other words, medication helps to a certain extent, but it's not something that you want to take on a continuous basis, since the provocative factors that produce the pain are clearly defined. And the obvious answer is to avoid the things that make it worse. So you've mentioned limiting his physical activities, correct? Yes. And you've mentioned medication, correct? Yes. And you previously mentioned injections could be a possibility for Dr. Adelson, correct? To simply temporize the pain, not as a remedy. There's a big difference in that. Would the injections that Dr. Adelson could undergo for his back pain decrease his back pain potentially? For how long? Mr. Hasselbrock, objective form. Ms. Furman. Well, I just want to know, are injections for his back condition a potential treatment option? Well, again, it depends on how you define treatment. So if you're saying, will injections in his spine make him better so he can do stuff, the answer is no. If you say to me, will it decrease the pain for some short period of time, the answer is yes. But it will not change the physiologic condition that underlies his pain. You're treating Dr. Adelson for his low back pain, correct? That's the condition for which he has sought medical care and treatment from you. Is that correct? Yes. So he has been coming to you seeking treatment for back pain, correct? Yes. And you agree that injections would provide treatment for back pain, correct? At its most simplistic level, sure. Okay. Is physical therapy a potential treatment option available to Dr. Adelson for his back pain? To temporize it in the short term, yes. And you've indicated that this idea of temporizing with the injections and now with the physical therapy, when you make that reference, is it because you're saying that these treatment options might provide relief for a period of time as opposed to indefinitely? Yes. So are there treatment options that could, in fact, provide a period of time for Dr. Adelson to experience an improvement in his back pain? Sure. And that includes physical therapy? Yes. And to my understanding, there's different types of physical therapy. But are you familiar with the different modes of physical therapy that are potentially available for a patient such as Dr. Adelson? Sure. Could it include strengthening exercises? To a limited extent, but that's not going to ease the pain. We're just talking about something that would temporize the pain. So you're talking about exercising. You're trying to improve their functionality, and that's a different issue altogether. Well, strengthening exercises and core strengthening exercises would be an option available through physical therapy for Dr. Adelson, correct? To do what? To potentially provide some alleviation or improvement in his pain. Is that correct? No, that's not correct. So you don't believe that exercising and core strengthening would allow him to experience a degree of relief from some of his back pain? No. Hasselbrock, objective form. Witness. Basically, what we're talking about is palliation. How can we palliate the pain? So massage, ultrasound, heat, that type of thing will relieve the spasm that he has temporarily. The strengthening issue has to do with, could you mitigate his underlying problem and allow him to have greater functionality? And I don't believe that that's the case. Ms. Furman, do you think massage could alleviate some of his pain? Transiently, sure. If he has an exacerbation, increase in spasm, massage, ultrasound, heat, that type of thing, that works fine. Question. And what about electrical stimulation as part of physical therapy? Sure. Modality. That helps ease some pain too. And that would include a TENS unit potentially? No. TENS unit is much better for neurogenic pain. Pain is a TENS party speaking simultaneously. Witness, inaudible. Yeah. Ms. Furman, is a TENS unit potentially something that he could use to address his back pain or his spasms related to his back condition? I don't believe so. Are there various types of injections that would be available to Dr. Adelson for his back condition? There are different ones. Facet block would probably be the most effective. Would epidural spine injection be a possibility for Dr. Adelson? I don't think it would be a good choice, no. Would steroid injections be a possibility for Dr. Adelson? Steroid injections where? And, well, that's the question. Would steroid injections somewhere in his back be a potential? I think we just did that in the first two questions. You asked me what injections. I said facets. You didn't ask me what you would inject. What you would inject would be some lidocaine and some steroids. Okay, yeah. So lidocaine is a numbing agent, and steroids could potentially reduce the inflammation in those injections, correct? For a short period of time, yes, and the effects become cumulative and they are limited. So you can only inject steroids so much as I'm sure you're familiar with, repeated steroid injections are not a good plan. So if you have a long-term problem, and you would have to work out long-term solutions. And obviously, if you could mitigate development of the pain, that's a much better way of dealing with it than trying to fix the pain once you've allowed it to occur. And what about procedures such as a medial branch block or other pain-blocking injections? Could those be an option for Dr. Adelson? Those are transient remedies for a long-term problem. Do you have patients who use such transient remedies as injections for back pain? Sure, for weddings and bar mitzvahs and holidays. For weddings, bar mitzvahs, and holidays. Okay. So if somebody's going on a vacation and they say, I don't want to have pain for a week. Yeah, sure, that's fine, but it's not a solution. Is that the only solution in which you've recommended to your patients that they undergo injections for back pain? No. So if a person has a severe exacerbation of symptoms and they have radicular symptoms and you have to get them out of pain, at that point, the injections help. But if you look at the long-term outcome of these injections, whether the epidurals or facet blocks, they only speed up the time of recovery, but the ultimate outcome is fundamentally no different. In terms of the underlying back condition, does not change from injection? Answer, correct. It does not change the underlying condition. So obviously, from a medical point of view, if you can prevent the problem as opposed to remedy the problem once it occurs, that's the preferred method. And how many times you have to, as a medical professional, treat the problem that's present in terms of pain complaints, and that's part of the medical care and treatment you generally provide your patients, correct? Hasselbrock, objective form. Witness, sure, that's part one. Part two is, okay, here you're coming in, you've got this problem, let's get you out of pain, fine. Now we have to decide, well, why are you in pain? What can we do to keep you out of pain? So there's a two-parter there. We don't just treat them, here, take some drugs and go away. We provide a solution or a recommendation as to how to prevent the problem. Ms. Furman, what about ablation procedures? Would that possibly be a form of treatment Dr. Adelson can pursue? As we just discussed, it's a temporizing activity. Have you had patients of yours that you have recommended an ablation procedure for? Sure. And have they experienced relief from pain as a result of undergoing an ablation procedure in their spine? Transiently. And when you say transiently, has it been potentially months that they've experienced relief of pain from an ablation procedure? In addition to Hasselbrock, objective form. Sorry, go ahead. The witness. So in addition to other things, so in other words, if a patient gets a procedure such as the epidural or the ablation or a facet block, we don't then go out and say, well, go out and do everything you want to do. We say, okay, fine, we got you out of pain. Now, how do we keep you out of pain? So if somebody goes and gets a block and then they go wash their car and they do their hubcaps and they come in with pain the next week, then I say, well, why did you do that? I was feeling better, doc. Well, don't do that. I mean, this is really pretty simple stuff. Ms. Furman, so you've had patients who have experienced relief of pain in their back from undergoing ablation procedures, correct? Yeah. And with proper treatment, they've been able to continue to experience relief of pain following the ablation procedure, correct? Proper treatment being avoiding the exacerbating factors, sure. It doesn't keep them out forever. As we just said, that long-term outcome is still going to be no different. It's just speedier. And Dr. Adelson had previously seen a chiropractor, correct? Yeah, everybody is hopeful. Did you ever discuss having him see a chiropractor for his condition? No. Well, I discussed it and I said, I don't think it's a long-term answer. Okay. So again, that was not a long-term solution for his back pain. So that's why you didn't recommend he pursue a chiropractic. Is that correct? Correct. What about an acupuncturist? Have you ever discussed the possibility of seeing an acupuncturist for his back pain? No, absolutely not. In terms of medications, what medications have you personally prescribed for Dr. Adelson? I think we discussed this before, but we can do it again. The tizanidine. And tizanidine is a muscle relaxant. Is that correct? That is correct. Do you know approximately how much tizanidine you prescribed for Dr. Adelson over the time that you've treated him as a patient? No, I have no idea. Are you aware of whether any other doctors prescribed any medication for him for his back condition? I'm sure it's in the records. And what was the purpose of prescribing tizanidine for Dr. Adelson? Short-term pain relief for exacerbations. So what were your prescribing instructions for use of the medication? To take it on a PRN basis. So basically the medication is sedating. So it is not something I would want a surgical professional or anybody who's using fine equipment. If you look at the instructions on medication, it says avoid the use of heavy machinery and that's yada yada. So basically his job requires him to be focused. His job, medication is sedating. All muscle relaxants are somewhat sedating. So it's really not consistent with doing his job well. Do you know if he used the medications at any time, the tizanidine? Yeah, I believe he did. Did he tell you whether he obtained any relief or improvement from using the medication? As I recall, I think he did, and the anti-inflammatories helped to a limited extent. But overall, I think he tries to avoid having to take it, and he avoids having to take it by limiting his physical activity. Are there other medications that could be prescribed for Dr. Adelson's back pain? Sure. And what would those be? Well, there's a whole host of muscle relaxants. They all have similar adverse effects. I just happen to like tizanidine because it's not habit forming and it does a reasonable job, but there are other muscle relaxants. Are there other pain medications that could be prescribed for Dr. Adelson? Oh, sure, if we give him narcotics, but we don't do that anymore, do we? And what about other medications such as antidepressants that might help reduce his pain symptoms? Have you discussed that with him or considered that for him? They don't work well for what he has. And what medications are you thinking of when you say they don't work well? Well, if you're talking about drugs such as Cymbalta or amitriptyline, those can be sedating, but also they're better for purely neurogenic pain and not great for muscle pain or muscle spasm. They're not good for acute pain. They're good for chronic neurogenic pain. So the same thing with gabapentin. Gabapentin is good for chronic radicular pain. It's not good for muscle spasms and intense spasm that you get associated with the problems that he has. So because Dr. Adelson does not have that neurogenic pain, those types of medications you don't feel would be appropriate for him? Well, they wouldn't do the job. So basically, when he's in any position where he puts strain on his back, he gets increased spasm or muscular jerk. And those drugs are not all that effective in dealing with that. But the tizanidine is actually reasonably effective with dealing with that. But it can be, like I said, sedating. It's not a medication you would be on all the time. And it wouldn't prevent the exacerbations. It will just ameliorate them when they occur. So the tizanidine is addressing specifically the muscle spasm as opposed to a nerve pain for Dr. Adelson. Is that correct? Broadly. So your first visit with Dr. Adelson is that January 15th, 2018? Yes. Do you have a record available to you? I do. And there's a reference in that October 15th, 2018 office visit to, not October, January. I'm sorry, a little dyslexic there, inaudible. January 15th, 2018, correct? Yes. That this was a patient presenting for an initial office visit with the following new problem. Does that reflect that this was a problem he's presenting to your office for as a new patient as opposed to this being a new issue for him? Correct. And Dr. Adelson presented to you in 2018, having already been under the care of multiple other physicians at that point in time for his back pain. Is that correct? Yes, I think we dealt with that. And he had, in fact, already reduced his work activity level by the time you started seeing him in 2018. Is that correct? That is. And that was on the basis of recommendations from other physicians that he had seen previous to his treatment with you, correct? I believe so. So Dr. Adelson had reported to you that it was a reduction in his work activities that had allowed for an alleviation to some degree of his back pain. Is that correct? Yes. In your notes on that date, there's an entry about a modifying factor. It reflects that has been doing pain management. Do you know what pain management Dr. Adelson had been doing at the time that you saw him in January of 2018? I don't recall specifically. And it notes that he has reduced the amount of work that he has been doing. That, quote, bending is okay, but bending increases pain, unquote. So this is what Dr. Adelson reported to you at that January 2018 visit, correct? Yes. And he reported that this conservative management has controlled his symptoms to a limited degree, correct? Yes. And he was taking Motrin 800 milligrams. That was the anti-inflammatory that you prescribed, correct? Yes. And you noted, quote, doing exercises had provided limited benefit, according to your note? Yes. Under the symptoms, and I guess this is under notes, it says, quote, routine meds, OTC meds, unquote. That's over-the-counter meds. Was Advil? Yeah, yes. So at that point in January of 2018, the only medication Dr. Adelson reported to you that he was using was over-the-counter Advil, correct? No, because the 800 milligram Motrin is prescription pain. Okay, so Advil is over-the-counter and the Motrin is 800 milligrams. That's a prescribed dosage? Yes. And you conducted an examination of Dr. Adelson at that visit. Is that accurate? Yes, it is. You recorded the results of that exam in your notes? I did. And you found that his power was full, 5 out of 5 in all muscle groups and the upper and lower extremities? I did find that. You found no evidence of wasting or fasciculation? That is correct. You found there was normal tone for Dr. Adelson? I did. So that would be muscle tone, is that correct? That is correct. Well, in the upper and lower extremities, correct. And also under motor, you found no tremors or abnormal movement, no hypo or bradykinesia, correct? That is correct. So at that visit in January 2018, your motor findings on exam of Dr. Adelson were entirely normal, correct? Yes. Next section of your exam findings reflected sensory exam findings. Is that correct? It is. You found Dr. Adelson was intact to light touch and pain? I did. And also normal as to position, sense, and stereognosis? Yes. For his reflex findings, you found they were 2+ asymmetric throughout with no pathological reflexes noted, correct? Yes, that's correct. And a 2+ finding for reflexes is an entirely normal finding, correct? It is. Under gait, your findings reflect that he had normal stance and stride, normal arm swings, turns well with no extra steps, and is able to tandem walk, and he had a negative Romberg exam, correct? That is correct. And in coordination, you found all normal findings as well, correct? Yes. In your further findings, you noted normal fundi, correct? Yes. What does that refer to? His eyes. And the radicolumbar spine, you noted tenderness and spasm up to the radicolumbar paraspinal muscles with moderate limitation of range of motion of the radicolumbar spine, correct? Yes. And then the muscle that you found tenderness in was the left quadratus laborum. Yes, correct? And what is that muscle? That's like your flank muscle on the left side. And you found no edema or other abnormal findings on physical exam, correct? That's correct. So neurologically, you found no sensory deficits toward Dr. Adelson. I think we discussed that a second ago. Okay. And well, I'm saying from a neurologic standpoint, sensation is normal, correct? It is. And you also found no motor deficits based on any neurologic findings, correct? That is correct. And at this visit, you prescribed Xanaflex for Dr. Adelson, and the prescription was to start at 4 milligrams for a week, and then it reflects you're going to have him add an additional half of a pill thereafter. Is that correct? Sort of. Okay, so 4 milligrams at night, then for a week. then add a half tablet in the morning for a week, and then if needed, he can take another half tablet in the middle of the day, it would be inaudible. Do you know whether, sorry, go ahead. Do you know whether Dr. Adelson actually followed that prescription recommendation for the Xanaflex? I believe he started it. I think it was sedating. That's why I started it the way I did. So you take it at night so you minimize the sedating effect. That's why you get used to it. And if hopefully it's not too, sorry, I think I'm pronouncing it wrong, sedating, then you take another half in the morning. See how you do in the middle of the day, then you take another half. But the problem with the medication, like I said, is sedating, and it can affect, performance. And you next saw inaudible. So what was your recommendation in terms of when you would next see Dr. Adelson? I don't recall. He had an MRI scan done in February. No. I had date of service was, we recommended an MRI. That was done in May. So you had recommended at the January 15th office visit, you had recommended that he undergo an MRI of his lumbar spine. Yes. Is that correct? He had a prior MRI, which was September of 2016. And what I say in that note is that, let's see, will review MRI lumbar spine and may require extension flexion study. So what my best recollection is that I've reviewed the prior study, which was September of 2016, and then felt that we needed to get a new study, which was the one that was done on the May 1st of 2018. Then I saw him in June. Okay, let's take a break finally. Okay, so that's page 60 of this humongously long and slightly boring deposition. I don't know if anybody's still out there. Wow. Okay, so I guess people are interested in hearing this deposition of Charlie Adelson's expert witness, the neurologist. So maybe I'll continue later on this week when I get a chance. But I did want to also share with you guys another exhibit that was also attached to that filing from Charlie's attorney, because I think it's kind of interesting, or definitely more interesting than what I just read. So I do appreciate you guys being out there and caring about the case to the point where you would want to hear me read depositions on a Sunday evening. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that Exhibit E. And this is really a much shorter document. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is really dense, but it was a memo prepared by a CPA who works as a claims manager for Berkshire Life Insurance Company. So it says it's a memo from Heather Kruskowski, dated November 24th, 2021. And let me try to enlarge this since the font is really tiny here. So it says, summary, Charles Adelson, the insured, is a 45-year-old periodontist from Weston, Florida. The insured owns 100% of the stock of Charles Adelson, DMDPA, a subchapter S corporation. He also owned 100% of the stock of Adelson Institute for Aesthetics and Implant Dentistry, LLC, until 2015, when he sold the business to his father, Harvey Adelson. The insured also owns or has interest in several other entities. Pursuant to your request, I've analyzed the insured's personal tax returns, business tax returns, and other miscellaneous documentation to demonstrate the impact on the insured's claim for disability benefits. So she had attached summaries of his Form 1040, Form 1120S, and then they defined residual disability. And so this I've sort of found interesting because she made a chart of his income from 2013 to 2020. So let me try to enlarge that even more in case you guys can actually see that out there. Okay, so this summarizes his income from his own Charles Adelson DMDPA, as well as the Adelson Institute. So in 2013, it said the total earned income was $780,846. For 2014, total earned income was $952,247. For 2015, $849,102.80. And then 2016, that's when he allegedly hurt his back when he was on a trip to the Philippines in January of 2016. Of course, there is a wiretapped conversation that you can hear on the YouTube channel Fancy Fiction, where Charlie Adelson is talking to his mother, Donna Adelson, and talking about how he's already slowing his life down and he wants to enjoy life and he has a plan in a couple of years for his retirement, something to that effect. They were talking about someone he knew who was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and how you got to live your life and enjoy life. You never know when you're going to die, something like that. So in 2016, you can see a big drop in his income, according to this chart, which says it's $396,522.32. 2017 was $217,721. 2018 was $202,663. 2019 was $122,505. That was also the year that he got sued for child support by his, what we call his baby mama, because he had a son with a woman in December of 2017. And I guess things kind of fell apart with their relationship to the point where she had to go after him for establishment of paternity as well as child support in early 2019. So 2020, says here his earned income total was $106,516. Okay, so there's some more notes here about some discrepancy in the income amount and prior monthly income before his alleged injury was $75,056.24. There's a disclaimer there. And this talks about the expenses for the business. I'll just kind of scroll down a little bit, and for people who really, really want to see all the numbers, you can watch it on replay and pause the screen. This is a big breakdown of all his reported expenses of the business. And there's another chart that I thought was interesting to show. So a lot of numbers here. So anyone that is into accounting or really, really interested in the whole Dan Markel, Charlie Adelson case, feel free to go back and look at all these numbers later. So let me get down to that chart that I thought was a little bit interesting here too. Okay, so this again mentions what his monthly income was for all those different months and years. Expenses, deductions. Where is that chart? Oh, here it is. Okay, it says the following graph illustrates the variable costs as a percentage of gross receipts from 2013 through 2020. So yeah, this is a really cool looking chart. Variable expenses as a percentage of gross receipts. So they have this like bar here in between to show before and after his claimed disability in 2016. So it looks like whatever this kind of reddish color is, that stands for auto and truck expenses. Okay. And what else really changed? The light blue thing, which is travel and continuing education, those expenses changed a lot, especially after 2019. So you can see these percentages changing over time from 2013 to 2020. Okay, and then disclaimer, this report does not intend nor does it purport to offer any conclusion whatsoever as to occupation duties or materiality duties that cannot be performed or why duties can or cannot be performed. Okay, so this is a summary of his 1040 individual tax returns where you can see like the income reported on his 1040 has really changed from 2020. This is going in reverse chronological order, 2020 to 2013. Also mentions his other LLCs here. And of course, this is all public information. It was filed in federal court by his own attorneys as exhibits to a filing. And the case is still pending. Okay. Yeah, so this is a really cool looking document. I'm sure it took the CPA many hours to put this all together as a memo for Berkshire Life Insurance Company. Yeah, so let me take you guys, or I will take myself back to the main screen so I can see who else is out there. Yeah. Okay. So that's it for tonight. My voice is getting croaky. I'm getting kind of tired of sitting here in one spot. So maybe I will try to stand up instead. It's not very comfortable to sit for long periods of time. So speaking of people with like spinal issues. Okay, so here I am, and I see there are a lot of familiar names in the chat box. So let me see if anybody wants to come on real fast. If you really want to be on the show, I will copy the link to the clipboard and post it out here in the chat. So we might have time for maybe one person who really wants to get on their soapbox or say anything on this live YouTube show. So thank you, Tony. Yeah, standing desk power. No, it's actually me just kind of propping things up under my laptop. So this is still kind of a low budget production. Yeah, I heard his house wasn't nice. Okay. Okay, do you know how expensive import car parts are? Wow, all in red. Yeah. Oh, okay, great. So Stella is here. Great. Give me a break so I can drink water while Stella talks. Hello, Stella. Can you hear me? Great. Give me a break so I can drink water while Stella talks.
Hi.
Hello, Stella. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Great. Give me a break so I can drink water while Stella talks. Hello, Stella. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Okay. This is really weird because I just keep hearing myself saying the same thing repeatedly. So if you can say something and we'll see if this works. Otherwise, it doesn't seem to be working right. Stella, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's really weird because I just keep hearing echoing myself saying the same thing over and over again.
Am I doing something wrong?
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe it's something wrong with StreamYard or whatever, but I just keep hearing myself repeating the same line over and over again. So, yeah, Roxanne is saying there's a big echo. So I don't think this is going to work.
We'll save it for another night.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is weird because it worked the last couple of times. So
Judy, you
it
do a
really
wonderful
bad
job.
echo.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And we'll talk. No, don't be silly. We'll talk again.
Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you for being here. I have to remove you since it's not working. Sorry. Okay. Well, so much for that. Okay. Well, we're glad that luckily last night it worked. Was it last night when Fancy Fiction was able to come on and talk to us? And there was also Sophia, another frequent commenter, was able to join in. So I don't know why it didn't. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're saying turn off the volume, but then in that case, then I can't hear what she's saying. So maybe I need to figure out how to use headphones or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, that's weird because it did work fine when the two other people joined in on the live stream before. So that is very strange. Okay. Well, sorry about that, guys. I was hoping that somebody else would like to get on the soapbox or whatever, but feel free to type it in the chat box if there's something that you would really like to say. Yeah, so I'll just show up some of the comments. Murder is not so far-fetched with these dishonest actions. Yeah, fraud, murder, greed. Yeah, those car parts are really expensive. Yeah. At least the kid is away from Chucky. The Adelson cycle must be broken. Too many generations of awful. Yeah, just very strange to hear so many details about these people. Yeah, they were plotting for years. The IRS will surely be auditing them. Yeah. Truly despicable, no conscience or moral conscience. Despicable. Goes by his earnings in the last 3 years. Yeah, they upped the year before he applied for disability. Yeah, I mean, it was maybe I'll apply. He, at least with one of the disability policies, it looked like he bought it in 2015. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Albert, for being here. Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Okay, I'm kind of going in reverse chronological order here. Yeah. Okay. Worked 12 hours today, just came home, been watching everything Chucky. Oh, okay. Wow. Working hard, Stella. Yeah. The divorce document. Yeah, they are public, but it's not easily available on a website. So as far as I know, if I really wanted to get the divorce case documents or the child support paternity case documents, I'm going to have to contact the clerk's office in Leon County, or whatever county it was that Charlie was living in. Yeah, so normally you have to contact the clerk's office in the actual court where the case took place and then ask them for a copy of it. There are some courts that will email the file over to you, which is great, like the court that I normally practice in, but I'm not sure how they do things in Florida, if they will email it to people just based on a request, or, do they do it by mail, or do they even charge you for the copies? I'm not sure how it is in Florida. Yeah. So, but that's another thing to do, right? Yeah. So thank you. Yeah, people have been giving me a lot of ideas on what to cover in future shows. So maybe sometime I will eventually talk about the Murdaugh case. Yeah, thanks for the nice cold drink. Yeah, thank you, Tony. Yeah, getting better. Well, I try, but it's hard. I mean, I definitely learned not to drink regular coffee before a live stream show, or bubble tea. There was also a live stream a long time ago where I was drinking bubble tea while doing that, and that was like a terrible decision, because the tapioca just kind of sticks in your throat while you're drinking it. So definitely do not drink caffeinated drinks or bubble tea. Yeah. Charlie was smoking weed and taking steroids. That should have helped. Yeah, probably did. But by the time he had to go see the doctor, then it was like, oh, my back is hurting so much, I can't work, right? Yeah. Who unironically nicknames himself Maestro. Yeah, I'll never forget that, because it's kind of funny that I'm all into this case, and when I was at a countywide spelling bee as a kid, the word that I got knocked out on was maestro. So I'll never forget how to spell maestro. Yeah. The hair and the eyes are the same on the two Chuckies. Okay. He may really believe he's amazing. Yeah, fancy fiction. Consider a Chucky image. Those two think the same. Yeah. Why didn't this doctor send Chucky to a pain management clinic? Yeah, it seems kind of weird, because even though he's also sort of treating Charles or Charlie, he is also being retained to be an expert witness for his litigation case. So, I mean, obviously I haven't read the whole entire deposition yet, but the guy is getting paid a ton to take part in Charles or Charlie's lawsuit, and also to be at that deposition and then potentially testify in court. It's crazy how oblivious Charlie is. I wonder if he was a happy person, thinking he's so smart and always cheating the system. He's probably sitting in jail thinking he will get out easy. I don't know. He did look quite troubled in court, though, on Friday. Yeah, has he lost his dental license? I don't think so. But yeah, because at least in terms of attorneys, usually they won't just take away someone's license just because the person has been charged with a crime. Usually you would have to get convicted of a crime to get your license taken away. But I'm not sure what the standards are for the dental board. Yeah. Yeah, Charlie lacks two major components in sustaining a happy and successful life experience: self-awareness and situational awareness. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Esther. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Finally made it to the live. Thanks so much for taking the time to read these and keeping the Dan Markel murder case along with the co-conspirators in the public eye, seeking justice for Dan Markel. Yes. Thank you, Angel. Thank you. Does he not realize how unlikable he is, even before all this murder stuff? Well, I think his mom was his number one fan, right? So, the mom never kept his ego in check, and the family would often say, even when he was younger, that, anything that Charlie says, or anytime Charlie says something, then Charlie is always right, because he'll argue with everybody to death about everything. So, plus he still had a number of girlfriends who fell for him and liked his money, right? Yeah. Oh, hey, everybody. Okay. He likes the attention at any cost. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he would probably ask for a jury, hoping that he can at least sway some of them so that he is not convicted. Yeah. Oh, okay, great. True Lifestyles is here. Thank you. Okay, great. Glad to hear you're doing better. I know you mentioned that you had gotten COVID, so that's good that you're feeling better. Yeah. It's great that Berkshire Insurance has rebelled against a fraudulent con of Charlie Adelson. Justice for his murder of Dan Markel is catching up with him big time. Yeah. and I've mentioned this before, but hopefully from his civil litigation cases, the prosecutors have gotten even more information and more dirt on this guy, because he can't stop litigating. There's always some sort of legal issue that's involving him, or burning his bridges, people getting mad at him, and hopefully spilling the beans about what they know about him. Yeah. Did they interview a young Columbia girl? Maybe she hurt Charlie. Okay. Yeah, that's from one of Fancy Fiction's videos, where Charlie was talking to his male friend about some 19-year-old that he had had relations with. Yeah. Let's see. You should have talked to that one girlfriend that complained about Charlie just stuck it in and went to town while bragging about himself. That doesn't sound like someone with a bad back. Yeah. Well, that was in early 2016, right? Maybe it got worse throughout the year by the time he applied for the disability insurance. Yeah. Hi, Diana. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Not every hour you physically work is billable. So yeah, they take else. Okay. Charlie would have had more success filing for mental health disability. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Must be nice to make that kind of money. No wonder lawyers live lavishly. Yeah, some lawyers. Yeah, not the majority of them, though. Yeah. Many attorneys take on 100,000 to 300,000 in debt, paying for 30 years. So I would say it's not enough, to be honest. Yeah, going to law school has gotten just crazy expensive. Yeah. Is my retainer? No, it is not. My retainer is not at least 7,000, although for certain cases, I would definitely ask for at least 7,000. And no, I do not bill $450 an hour. Yeah. Okay. I would have told them Charlie is not disabled for a couple of hundred. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you asked about that. No, I do not charge $450 an hour, but I know plenty of attorneys closer to the DC area are charging at least $500 or more per hour, at least for divorce lawyers. Yeah. Okay, great. Hi, Susan. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Antoine, for encouraging everybody to drop that like. Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. Okay. So I mean, not to interfere with people or whatever, but I did send an email over a week ago to one of the attorneys representing the insurance company, and did tell them about that, and directed them to the documents and the audio that you can hear on True Lifestyles and Fancy Fiction. And not surprisingly, he did not respond. So at least we know one person has contacted them to kind of give them a tip off, but maybe they already know about that. So okay, yeah, so let me scroll down more. Yeah. I wonder if that's the CPA office Meg Ben's sister-in-law stole $1 million from the money force in a full circle. No, actually, it's a reputable firm. Took them a while to accuse her, though. Okay, yeah. So I bet you're sick of saying Dr. Adelson. Yeah, Charlie is guilty. Yeah, I think so too, but he's still supposed to get his fair day in court, right? Yeah. Why procreate? Yeah. Okay. Wendy is horrible. Okay. Be careful, because her attorney is watching us. So if that's your real name, you might want to change your name on your YouTube account so that you don't get some message from certain people. Yeah. There was incest going on between Wendy and Charlie Adelson. Really? Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, the whole family seems very, very close. So I don't know. I have no evidence of that. So I don't want to smear somebody's name. But well, anyway, whatever. But Dade County or Broward? Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah. So it would probably be wherever the baby mama lived. So maybe that was Broward County. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, in terms of the paternity/child support lawsuit that she filed. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I might talk about that case eventually, but I have too many things going on and too many ideas. Yeah. Oh yeah, he called himself Maestro. He had that as his license plate. I think his former friend Ryan testified about that at Katie's trial. Yeah. Can you apply for disability even though the neurologist feels that his issue? Yeah, because it doesn't have to just be disability based on whatever, a certain medical condition. And by the way, so there's like a total difference between getting Social Security disability benefits from the government versus qualifying for disability insurance benefits from a private insurance company that you have a contract with. So this case doesn't involve Social Security disability benefits, but rather private insurance benefits that he had been paying premiums for. So it's like a totally different standard. Hi, Rebirth. Thank you for being here. Oh, yes. Okay. So MD, he's an MD. I've been asked several times to serve as an MD expert witness for radiology imaging findings. Sure. Well, I mean, the experts who are doctors really can make a lot of money doing that kind of stuff. So, it might be interesting for you to do that for a side job. Wendy doesn't do well with male lawyers. She should be crossed by a male lawyer. Okay, well, I'm not sure. I feel like Sarah Dugan and Kappelman did a pretty good job, but, we shall see. Yeah. His new lawyer on 29/7 sounds good. They are white-collar lawyers, so wonder how they will go in this. Okay. Yeah, he looked like a pale ghost. Yeah, probably just bad nutrition also, and just being depressed or stressed out in jail. Yeah, the jail staff is going to hire him temporarily. Okay. Okay, yeah, something's very off with the family dynamic. Hi, Crystal. Hi, thank you for being here. Can he apply for workers' comp? No, because he was working for himself. Yeah, I mean, I don't know Florida workers' comp law, but I did do workers' comp at one of the law firms that I worked for in North Carolina. So, yeah, I mean, usually if it's your own business, then you wouldn't be covered, but I don't want to say anything wrong since I have no idea what it's like in Florida. Yeah. So, and it's also a pretty high standard, and depending on the laws of Florida, I don't know how much he could possibly even get, even if he did have a successful workers' comp case in Florida, because it's usually, at least in North Carolina, it's about, I think, 2/3 of your average weekly wage, and it's limited. I mean, but laws are different for every state. However, with his disability insurance policies, at least one of them would have paid him $10,000 a month, and then he had other policies that could have paid him well over an additional $10,000 a month for disability through the private disability insurance policies. Yeah. So yeah, scammers. Yeah, like how you said burning bridges, so true. Yeah. So it seems like the investigators already got a lot of dirt on Charlie anyway from his ex-girlfriends. Yeah, and most likely a lot of his former friends or former colleagues, probably. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Crystal. Thanks. Smash that like button. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Chucky's daddy paid for his education. Yeah, that's what people are saying, that normally he wouldn't have been able to graduate or to get his license without help from his father. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, it could have been, but it was really weird because I could just keep hearing myself saying that same sentence over and over and over again too. So something was really weird with, probably the StreamYard was having problems. So yeah, that's okay. Yeah, just call him Chucky. Okay. Well, yeah, good for you advising them at Charlie's intake form, no disabilities. Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah. Daniel Rashbaum would be expensive. Catherine Myers is a partner, looks a tough bird. Wonder what experience they have in murder, though. Very white collar firm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Oh, hi, Tony. Yeah, thank you. I don't know what you were saying that in response to, but glad we made you laugh. Yeah, Charlie is waking up to reality, given 20 years to disclose all, and I think he bites. Yeah, but 20 years, that doesn't seem like enough, given that Sigfredo is in prison for life, and so is Katie, and I don't know. 20 years just sounds a little too nice for him. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, vanity license plate. I think Charlie has a deep down resentment for Wendy, especially now he's going to turn. Yeah, very well could be. He was already talking back in 2016 that he felt she was like an entitled spoiled trust fund baby and she never had to work hard for anything, whereas he had to take out student loans to go to school. He's had to work really hard to make his money. Yeah. Did Charlie not listen to advice on lifting weights? He wound up with back pain. Now he's being a prick about it. That is not listening to real doctors. Yeah. Well, who knows how he got his back pain, or if it really was that bad anyway, because remember, he was still able to fly internationally on many, many trips over the last 6 years before he got arrested. So he was still enjoying life. Yeah. Charlie stole Maestro from Seinfeld. Okay, I see. Yeah. Let's see. When Wendy said, "Now you're making me blush," I think she honestly thought that was cute. It wasn't. Oh, yeah, you mean when the police officer was interviewing her? Yeah, on the day that Dan Markel got shot. Yeah. Why would you think his lawyer asked for a trial so soon? Sounds cocky, like Charlie. When his lawyer advised him to wait. Well, I'm not really sure. Yeah, I think maybe Charlie can't stand it in jail already, so he wants to get out as soon as possible. So, yeah, you would think it's because he just thinks that he's going to be found innocent, so let him out sooner than later, I suppose. Yeah, I am surprised that the trial is supposed to be happening so quickly, though. Yeah. Self-employed person pays into workers' comp, but it is very difficult to collect on it as a proprietor. Yeah. And plus, okay, so I'm just still going back on my outdated knowledge of North Carolina workers' comp law, though, but normally, at least here, you would have to show that there was like a sudden accident that happened that caused you to have the injury. And you could also try to claim that it was an occupational disease, but I don't know. I don't think whatever happened to him, where his back just started hurting while he's sitting in a taxi cab in the Philippines would qualify to get him workers' comp, at least based on the North Carolina standard. Yeah. Plus, the benefits would be very low, even if he did qualify to get workers' comp. Yeah, you already don't like Charlie's new lawyer. Okay. Yeah, I don't know these people, so can't really give a judgment on that. He's so driven to sculpt his physique, look stupid at the gym. Look what happened. Big surprise. Now he's blaming the world. So, yeah. So he didn't say that he hurt himself he hurt himself at the gym, though. Yeah, definitely. Disability policy would pay a lot more. I sell insurance. Yes. SSDI benefits or workers' comp benefits are piddly compared to what you could get if you had your own disability insurance policy. Yeah. Why did it take so long to arrest him? Why is Wendy still out? Well, people keep saying that they feel like it was because of Willie Meggs and, the Adelsons having friends in Florida politics. So it could be. But on the other hand, I feel like overall, these extra 6 years that it took to get Charlie arrested was actually a good thing, because look how much extra evidence and more angry ex-girlfriends, angry baby mama, angry former friends, a lot more evidence has probably been accumulated against Charlie in the last 6 years. And hopefully they have even more wiretapped phone calls or communications that would sink him. Yeah. Thank you again, Crystal. You're like the best cheerleader for a YouTube channel. Thank you. Yeah. Life for all of them. Yeah. Took years for them to be able to clean up the audio when he and Katie were talking in a restaurant. Yeah. That too. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I figured I'd wear it again. It's comfortable. And, I was happy to find it on Poshmark. So thank you. Haha, Stella, right in the middle of it. Whoops. Okay. Charlie looking for a speedy trial makes me think he feels he has a good chance of beating this. Why would he want to delay it for months if he feels like he will get out? So get it over. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he seems very, very overly confident, arrogant type of person. So he probably thinks that he's going to be able to get out of this. Yeah, exactly. Agree with you. Yeah. Let's see. They denied him bail. Is he a flight risk? Probably, given his statements and I don't know. What was it that he said at the Dolce Vita? He said something like, if they had anything on us, then we'd be at the airport by now. Yeah, he could be a flight risk. I think even riskier is that he would probably try to tamper with witnesses or try to do something to, I don't know. I mean, do something shady while he's out. I mean, I'm just guessing off the top of my head, but I think it's pretty unlikely that they're going to allow him to be out, even on house arrest or home confinement pending trial. Yeah. 20 years is definitely too nice, but it's a deal with the devil necessary to get to the other core. I think it's worth it. They did this in the Denise Williams case too in Tallahassee. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've definitely been hearing a lot about the Denise Williams case since Stephen Epstein, the guy who has just recently written a book about the Dan Markel case. He also wrote a book about the Denise Williams case. Yeah, it's called The Evil at Lake Seminole. So, yeah. Have you followed the Murdaugh case? Yeah, I've definitely been following it, not as closely as the whole Dan Markel, Charlie Adelson, Katie Magbanua case, but it is a very riveting, really sad case too. That guy seems like a total mess. So yeah, so maybe I will talk about it in a couple of weeks once I do some more research on it, so I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly. That's not workers' comp at all. I mean, it didn't happen on the job, so yeah. I believe he's a flight risk. Yeah, restaurant conversation. He mentioned something about them being on the next plane if he thought they had evidence on him. Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, workers' comp is very low, at least here in North Carolina, probably in pretty much every state anyway. Not sure how they get to Donnie Wendy without Charlie. Yeah, totally. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, so people are into the Murdaugh case. Yeah, that's the attorney in South Carolina. He's already been disbarred. He's in jail accused of murdering his wife and son, and there's like a whole bunch of other shady things that he allegedly has done. So no doubt he'd flee if given the opportunity and means. Prior to being arrested, he made reference to doing so if he felt an arrest was imminent. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Let's see. How did disability payments get out of hand? And if you have the right lawyer, you can get anything. Well, I'm not really sure if you can get anything just by having the right lawyer, but there are different standards, like I said, again, for SSDI versus, obviously workers' comp or disability from your insurance carrier that you've paid into. Yeah. Okay. Miss Cheryl was amazing. Oh, okay, you're talking about the Williams case, the Mike Williams murder, or yeah, okay. Yeah, that's pretty similar. Yeah, so in that case, for anyone that hasn't heard about it, there's a guy named Mike Williams who was married to Denise, and Denise started having an affair with Mike's best friend, Brian. So they cooked up a plan to kill off Mike so they could get together. And the sad thing was that Brian had been best buddies with Mike since they were kids. And so Brian decided that he was going to take Mike out on a boat or a fishing trip or something, get him out on the water and shoved him over the boat. But then lo and behold, Mike was able to stand up on some piece of wood or something that was in the water. So he's like standing up there in the water like, hey, why'd you shove me overboard? And so Brian then pulled out a gun or a rifle and shot him between the eyes and killed him. And they almost got away with it for about 17 years because nobody could find Mike's body. And it was because of his mother, Cheryl, that was constantly on law enforcement's case saying, no, these people did something to my son. I'm sure Denise had something to do with it. He didn't get eaten by an alligator. Finally, later on, I think the water receded in the lake. So then his body was found. No, I think it was also because things kind of fell apart between Denise and Brian. So they got married after they got rid of Mike. And then things eventually went sour between Denise and Brian. There was something about Brian kidnapping Denise or threatening her or something like that. So they wound up being investigated by the police. And then Brian cut a deal to testify against Denise and spilled the beans, saying that, Denise had wanted to get her first husband killed, and they concocted the whole scheme to murder him. So yeah, very, very strange story, but I'm digressing though. But if you guys are interested in true crime stories, then definitely look into Steve Epstein's book called Evil at Lake Seminole. And he's going to be a guest on a future live stream show to talk about his book about the Markel case also. Yeah. Will Dan Markel's mother be at Charlie Adelson's trial? Yeah. I mean, assuming there's going to be a trial, I would assume she would be there, because she and Dan's father and sister were there during the entire Meg Banua trial. Yeah. Yeah. So definitely, yeah, justice for the Markel family. Feel so sorry for them. Yeah. Okay. Okay. You got your New York accent. Okay. Yeah. He said he would go to an airport in the Dolce Vita recording. Surely he can't get bail on this alone. Yeah. I think that Mike Williams' mom was willing to make a deal with Brian so she could bring her son home. And yeah, just very sad. Yeah, but it's great that, she stayed alive. She stayed on it. She was constantly bugging the investigators to the point where I think they were annoyed with her, but she knew that her son wasn't just, eaten by alligators, which I guess was the story that some people were saying at first, that her son just fell overboard and got bitten by alligators. The irony for Donna to be part of a murder because she was sick of driving to Dallas. Yeah, exactly. But I bet she's not in good health now. And plus, she's already in her 70s, so she's probably not going to be visiting Charlie, even if they do allow visitors. Yeah. Charlie will start singing. Yeah, I'm not sure. He seems very tight with his parents, especially his mom. Yeah. He would have plan A, B, C, and D. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that would be great. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Yeah, I'm just really surprised that so many people care about this whole Dan Markel case, and it really makes me happy because it was something that I had been, following for a number of years also. Yeah. So it's good to find other people that care about the same things you do, which is the fun of being on YouTube, I guess. Yeah. If you have money, you can pull the purse strings, favorable verdicts. Yeah, maybe, or at least he can. I mean, look at this. He could obviously afford to hire this doctor for his disability case, this expensive, high-paid expert MD. Yeah. Yeah. Death of Dan shouldn't go unpunished. Yeah. She was the best. Mm-hmm. We're definitely going to see Charlie's baby mama on the stand. Well, that would be great. I would love to hear what Charlie told her, if anything, about the death of Dan Markel, or anything that she may have that would be relevant toward the criminal case. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure she didn't even know Charlie at the time that Dan Markel was murdered, but then she met him through Wendy's ex-boyfriend, Dave. Yeah, because the baby mama was Dave's nanny to his kids. Yeah. A lot of people involved in this. Yeah, I'm invested in this case for Dan Markel's mother. My mom was also kept from her grandchildren. Oh, my mom didn't live long enough for any justice. I want justice for Ruth Markel and the family. Yes, definitely. Yeah, and hopefully Mrs. Markel will be willing to be interviewed. I'm not sure if she would want it to be in a live stream format or a recorded type of video, but I'm trying to get in touch with her, so we'll see. Yeah. But definitely, you guys, again, take a look at the YouTube channel as well as the podcast called Surviving the Survivor. I've been a guest on a couple of their shows already, and they had a really good interview with Ruth Markel as well as Dan Markel's friend, Karen Cyphers. So that was on their channel maybe about a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. He thought the alligators would eat him, except they found an alligator. Yeah. Yeah, sorry for your mom, Roxanne. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I definitely remember reading about that. Yeah, this is getting back to the Mike Williams murder case, that the time of year the alligators were sleeping because of temperature of the water. Yeah, so that's why the mom didn't buy it at all when some people were telling her that, oh, well, what must have happened to your son is that he just fell overboard while he was fishing and he was eaten by alligators, so forget about it. Yeah, but his mom never gave up. Yeah. Charlie will never admit the truth about any of this, therefore will never turn on Mommy Dearest or the Little Princess. He still thinks he'll outsmart everyone and beat this. He's a total narcissist. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. I don't see him just taking any sort of plea deal and agreeing that, yes, I was part of this murder plot to murder Dan Markel and my family had stuff to do with it. I really don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, exactly. It took 2 decades of parallels or the length of time for justice and family involvement. Yeah. Yeah. Brian sold Mike and Denisa. Oh, $1 million insurance policy that he benefited with. Yeah, that's right. And I remember there was either maybe a commenter on YouTube or somebody said that they had rented property from Brian and Denise after the murder happened and that they seemed like totally nice, normal people. So this person was totally shocked to find out later that they were arrested or had something to do with murdering someone. Yeah, because they ended up, didn't they end up moving to Tennessee or something and opened up a restaurant or a diner or whatever? Yeah, so they were just living their normal, happy lives together for many, many years after killing Mike. Yeah. Love that so many of us are interested in true crime and yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to do a live stream. I'm planning to do a live stream on Tuesday regarding the Robert Wan murder case again, because that will be the 16th anniversary of when he was stabbed to death in DC in his friend's home. So I'm not sure if anybody out there knows about that murder mystery, but it's something that is also a case that I've been very very interested in since it happened back in 2006. Yeah. Poor doctor's dealing with all this, with this BS from this Adelson character idiot. I'm sure he was in pain, but it's about lifting weights, lifting like a gym narcissist, trying to impress the chicks. Geez. Yeah. As well as go-karting and doing all his water sports and boating and stuff. Yeah. And flying around the whole country. Yeah. Or the whole world. Yeah, Charlie is arrogant. He may turn once he has no way out. Yeah, maybe. Can't wait for the author. You report so well-rounded on your channel. Love it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm always up for more ideas too. But for this upcoming month, I think I have enough ideas for this month. Yeah, September, then we can start from ground zero and figure out what I'll do live streams about, especially if there's nothing really happening in the Charlie Adelson case in September. Yeah. Oh, wait a second. The Arthur hearing is supposed to be September 9th. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the date. Yeah. I feel the wife, Wendi, is at the root of this. Any chance she could? Well, I guess she could, but she seemed very confident on the stand that she wasn't going to be arrested or charged with anything. So I'm not really sure. I mean, but it's just a high standard of proof. So, just feeling like she might have done some weird things or very strange behavior after Dan Markel was murdered, that's not enough. So, oh yeah, totally, Tony. Yeah, you're more than welcome to. I'm sorry I couldn't get that thing to work today with the weird echoing, weird sound today with trying to get people to join on. Yeah. Oh, okay. Back in Tallahassee. Okay. Myrtle makes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, very creepy family and everything. Yeah, 89 here and 50. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, frustration with this case is the delay in charging the Adelsons. Let's see. Oh, okay. Oh, you think Murdo is gay? Yeah, well, wasn't there that young teenager, Stephen, what's his name, Stephen Smith or something, that was found dead in the road? And I think some people are alleging, well, Stephen Smith allegedly was gay, and so maybe there had been some sort of relationship between the deceased teenager. Okay, so I don't really want to say too much because I haven't read up on this case very recently. So anyway, but there are definitely a lot of like weird issues surrounding that Murdaugh family. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Tran T50. Yeah, thank you so much for joining in. Hope you're doing well. Will Wendy sing for it? Well, I mean, first she has to actually be charged with a crime, but we'll see. Yeah, thank you, Pam Cakes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, highly unlikely. Mentor lawyer rented Brian's property? Really? Is that true? Okay, so So maybe it was a comment from him that I read, because I've been reading just like so much stuff about all these different cases. It's hard to keep everybody straight. Yeah, how interesting. Okay, she worked at FSU and got her. Oh, Denise. Okay, yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah, yeah, I thought the same thing about Wendy's flirty comment. Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, so you like surviving the survivor. Yes, that's the YouTube channel where I was a guest on a couple of their shows to talk about the case with other attorneys, and then they also interviewed Ruth Markel. So really great interview. I really recommend it if you haven't seen it. Move for Telehealth. Yeah, I don't think they would want to do that at all. Yeah. Okay. No, I have no idea what that could be. Is that another YouTube channel? I feel like I have no spare time anymore. So yeah, I think Buster was gay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely need to read up more about that, but it did seem very strange about that friend, or that young guy that was found dead in the road, and supposedly he was hit by a car, but it didn't seem like his injuries reflected that he was probably beaten to death. That's what I recall. Not sure about all the details. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Roxanne. I really appreciate that. Okay. So I think I'm going to wind down this live stream, because again, it's just been whopping long. Every time I do a live stream, it seems like so many people really want to discuss this case or other cases and stuff. So I appreciate you guys being out there. How do you not see? Yeah, I really don't. I agree with you, Michael. I really find it very, very unlikely that Charlie would ever turn on his family. The family seems so tightly knit and, all bound in together. And if they were all in on it, I mean, they're not going to turn on each other. I really don't see that. Yeah. Sure, Roxanne. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. Let's see, Stephen Epstein's book on Michael. Oh, okay, great. So I'm so glad that you actually read it, because I read his book about the Michelle Young murder, that had to do with a couple here in Raleigh, North Carolina, where the husband murdered the wife, and their little kid was still in the house at the same time and was found wandering around after her mother had been killed. Anyway, yeah, I'm digressing though, but definitely it'll be great to have Steve on as a guest later in August to speak about his Dan Markel book. Yeah, so my voice is going. I really need to drink something. So have a good night, everybody. I really appreciate you guys being here and caring about the case and justice for Dan Markel. So hope you have a great week, and hopefully we'll be able to live stream about the Robert Wand case on Tuesday then. Have a good evening. Thank you.